Are you enjoying John Dash and Friends? Make sure you follow us so you never miss a new episode. We regularly post new podcast programs and upload interviews on Facebook, so following us is the best way to be notified when new content is released. Just search John Dash and Friends on your favorite social media platform and hit follow to stay connected.
Steve, we have known each other a long time, and the last interview we did together was really great. I listened to it again the other day. I repurpose them and go back through them and look at them, and it just was really, man, you're always encouraging, okay? And I mean, that part about you is, is just really inspiring, okay?
Thank you.
And I've shared before, you have a different type of heart. And, like the Tin Man, my wife says, I'm like the Tin Man. If I only had a heart. But you just got that way about you. And I know that's tough to do, and we'll share some things that's a little controversial as we go along, but I mean, it's real stuff in our life. But I think about in our life when you're a pastor and the challenges that you have as a pastor. And I know this is rewarding.
Yeah.
But also there's challenges that you have as a pastor.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And I shared this the other day, a gentleman's pastor, and we were talking about this. I said, one of the challenges as a pastor is having to take up for your people.
Yeah.
Okay? And because I've had people that when I pastored, that was a little rough around the edges.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And I couldn't just throw them under the bus. Okay? And I found myself sort of taking up for them when they wasn't quite as right as they should have been.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, I know God has given us the honor to minister to a lot of men and women who struggle with drugs and alcohol. Mm-hmm. And, of course, they're not perfect. Right. But I know other people who don't drink, and they're still not perfect. And so I told people the other day, I love the ministry if it wasn't for all the people. Me and Jesus get along real good. But that's a part of it, though. Right. It's just because we're all in the process. And I spoke last night about, we're becoming more like Jesus every day. And I think that's the problem. We've got to see that and I keep telling our people, I said, listen, before I'm a preacher, I'm a Christian just like you. And if I ever get that out of order, I become a hired gun. Right. But I'm not. I'm here. I have to experience the same thing. And sometimes the battles I go through, and I share them. And I'm very transparent. And it's like people, man, thank you so much, because I'm going through the same thing. Right. And I think as we know that, sometimes we're afraid to say that we're having problems, because as soon as we do, they're going to say people have a demon, or they don't have faith, they've got sin in their lives, and maybe none of that. And people are just hurting, especially in this day and hour today.
Well, and I think I agree with that aspect. I mean, to be transparent, I never have been really transparent. Okay. There's some things because of the I don't know, of my upraising.
Yep.
I'm not sure if upraising is is that a word? Upbringing.
Bringing.
Okay,
there you go.
Upraising. Okay, but I mean, upraising's what's in Raisin Bran. But I mean, I think about how to be transparent. Okay, especially from the pulpit. Okay, is I never have been good at that, never was good at that. And I know we needed to be good at that. Yeah. And because it draws people that need help and need things in their life. And I think when you share those things, I've become a little more transparent lately about addictions.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm addicted to Oreos. Mm-hmm. That's a big battle. Sugar to me is as bad as cocaine, man.
Your brain, your dopamines. I saw a picture of a brain on cocaine and a brain on sugar.
Yeah.
The brain being affected by the dopamines was bigger than cocaine. Now that's my addiction. I had to front it one day. I was in church and I said, hello, I'm Steve Branch and I have an addiction. And everybody's like, and I said, my addiction is accepted because I said, but I struggle with food. Yeah. And I said, if you put Sweet Baby Ray on your elbow, I'm gonna gnaw it off. That's what I'm talking about. But God's helping me to be able to fight. And matter of fact, he shared to me, he said, Steve, it's not what you're eating is the problem. I said, well, praise, that's awesome, Lord. He says, what's eating you, that's the problem.
Right.
And I'm like, oh no, because that was my comfort, you know.
And I think about that. I love, if I don't have a sausage and egg biscuit in the mornings, I get out of whack.
Yeah.
My whole day's out of whack, and everything's just not going like it needs to go. I have to, if I don't get that. Now, and if I can fight something, that song, One Day at a Time, Sweet Jesus, okay? If I can make it through this time, like the other morning, two or three mornings ago, I went over to Food Line and got me some of the watermelon slices and some mangoes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I sit in the truck and ate those for breakfast because I do things. If I don't do everything in a system, I'm very much oriented in that way. I have a plan. I have to do things. If not, I'm all out of whack.
Right.
In the morning when I go to take a shower, before I take a shower, when I go in the bathroom, I set my deodorant down, my toothbrush down, my toothpaste down. I set everything down on the counter in order. If not, I will not shave. Okay, wow. I'll miss it. And I've got everything I do. And before I do that, I go over and hang my washcloth outside the shower on top of the towel. Okay, and I follow the same procedure. If not, I'll be up in the day and I say, gosh, I didn't shave, or I'll forget to do stuff. And I'm very much like that. Working out, I have to go the Y. I go the Y in the mornings, do my cardio, we go the weights, swim. But I can, at home, I've got a treadmill. I can do all these things at home.
Right.
But I have to leave and go do that.
Right.
Okay, and it's just the way.
It's the way God wired you.
Yeah, it's the way I'm wired up on stuff. Yeah. Now, Janice, she's miles at home, wears out the treadmills, got one of them bouncy trampolines in the living room, which scares me to death that she's bouncing. I know she's going through my TV one day. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
She's got this guy on there that she sits in the chair and does all the stuff, and but I have to leave. I get up, put my toboggan on, and then at night, I have to lay out my shoes. At night, before I go to bed, I go in and lay out my sweatpants, the shirt I'm going to wear. I lay my socks on top of it. I lay everything out because if there's something there, I find an excuse not to do it. I say, well, my shoes ain't out. I'm not going to be able to do it today. Or my sweatpants are not out, okay, or my shirt's not out. Let's just take the day off. Let's just do that. You know what I mean? But and I think there's people that were wired different, and we have things, and I know my battles, okay, and I know that, I'll try to work on stuff that goes along, but there's some things that we all have these things to talk about. When you deal with people with addictions,
yep.
And you know way more about this than I do. But I was telling you about Brian, my cousin, and he had years of addictions, and he's been 6 years clean now, and just is really a man after God's heart, so
they do recover.
Yeah, he just come through it. Him and met his wife in recovery, and they got a beautiful baby now, and he's got got 3 boys actually, but he's just, but I think God's got a wrench for every nut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know you work with people in that respect, and
yes,
I really admire you for that. I know that's a big thing to do. It's enough to have a goal, but you got to have a system.
Yes, sir.
If you don't have a system, if you just have goals, I just want to do this, like saying, I want to be financially out of debt, and that's my goal. But if you don't have a system,
right,
you can't complete that.
Exactly.
The same thing I believe when we're dealing with addictions, possibly.
Yes, sir.
You got to have a system. What do you think?
I think so. Because you're giving them structure. Because honestly, when you talk about being born again, like one of the gentlemen last night was sharing, and he's heading up a ministry, Heart for People. Aaron Hayes, he and Christy Myers, and but it was birthed out of what they've been through. He died. He was on the floor. They had to hit him. If you know anything about Narcan, they had to hit him 4 times. Yeah. He finally came back. But through those things, God saved him. And he said last night he struggled with 20 years. So this is what I heard many years ago, is that when they started using drugs and even alcohol to some sort, their emotions froze. So if they started, and most of them I've talked to, started in middle school, which is about 11, 12, 13 years old. And not all of them, but some of them. Right. But then you think their brain begins to freeze. The good news is their brain's not concrete. It is rewirable. And that's the good news. And it's like people say, oh, Pastor, why don't you just tell them to quit? And I'm like, wow, why didn't I think of that? Man, that is, that is an awesome revelation, isn't it? But the thing is that in here, the addiction part of your brain, it's like they call it a lizard brain back here in our brain somewhere, and it's like doing this. It's like I don't know how many people I've talked to. I've had millionaires on my shoulder crying, saying, I do not want to be like this. Mm-hmm. And I say, I know that's not who you are and who you are, and just because of the pain and they're trying to cover it for whatever reasons. Mm-hmm. But it's like getting a rattlesnake and a little baby snake, and how cute it is. But then you raise it, but instinctively it's going to strike you. Right. And that's the same thing with an addiction, is that you're trying to tame it and trying to cover it. You can't tame it until you name it. Yeah. And until you get to that.
We truly hope today's episode of John Dash and Friends has inspired your heart and encouraged your spirit. John believes these conversations are more than television programs. They are living history, moments captured in time, stories that matter, wisdom that deserves to be remembered and passed down to the next generation. Each week, he welcomes friends from every walk of life to share their journeys, the victories, the lessons, the faith, and the perseverance that shaped who they are today. If something you heard today touched you, we invite you to stay connected. You can find John Dash and Friends on all social media platforms. Just search our name. We're on Facebook and TikTok, sharing hope and meaningful conversations every week. On behalf of John and his family, thank you for welcoming us into your home and allowing us to introduce you to our friends. Until next time, keep the faith, keep growing, and keep building a life worth remembering. We'll see you soon on John Dash and Friends.